Okay, 16.2 is our stockholders equity. All of this information is basically in our financial documents, but this just again is giving us a chance to break it down so you can see the details, and have one statement that shows basically the changes in owner's equity through a year. Okay, so that's what this is. It shows the statement of stockholders equity, shows changes in owner's equity throughout the year. And owner's equity for a corporation, the owners are the stockholders, right? Okay, and we're going to pull this information from a couple of different places. We still start with our heading, our who, what, and when. We're still Superior Corporation. The what, this is a statement of stockholders equity. And because we will be working with net income, it will be on here. This will need for the year ended. December 31 of the current year. Okay, there's our who, what, when. And then we're going to have two main sections, one for capital stock and one for retained earnings. So for capital stock, this a lot of this will come from the ledger, but this is going to show more detail than the ledger shows as well. So what we're going to show is that our stock is a $10 par value stock. And so when a company issues stock, the par value is the value assigned to a single share. It's printed on the stock certificate, and it's the par value allowed within the laws for that type of stock. Now, that is not, the value, the trading value is going to be very different. Okay, but the initial par value is a set number when that stock is actually issued. Okay, and that's where we start with our numbers. And that's how we initially value our stock. So it's a $10 par value stock. So every piece of stock, every stock issued is worth $10. On January 1 of this current year, we already had 8,000 shares issued. Okay, so at that point, 8,000 times 10 is $80,000. So that was the value in our books for our stocks. And then during the year, we decided to issue another 250 shares. So we note that here, that we issued during the current year another 250 shares. Okay, so now 250 times 10 is another $2,500. Okay, and that will actually show up in our ledgers, because when we issued this amount of shares, we actually sold them, and so that was cash coming in, right? That's why we issue stocks, is because we're trying to raise capital, we're trying to raise money, because we want it for something. Hopefully it's something good, like you want to expand your business, you want to expand your locations, whatever the case may be. So you need more capital to be able to do that. So you issue more shares. Okay, so that was cash coming in. So if you looked at your ledger, you would actually see an entry for coming from the cash receipts journal for that $2,500. Okay. So then we're just going to look at the balance of this on December 31 of the current year. So now we have 8250 shares issued. Went out of room there. So we're just adding these two up. Now we've got 82500. Okay, and that will, like I said, match our ledger. So this plus this equals this. And it's just, again, just giving you the details, right? So this information right here is pretty much coming from your ledgers. Okay, or you may have some other documentation that has the issue of capital stock that you may pull that information from. Okay, but it is in your ledgers. Now the second part is the retained earnings. And after this, we're going to do the balance sheet. And on the balance sheet, we've always had to talk about, okay, when we put the retained earnings or we put the owner's equity on the balance sheet, we have to remember that any net income goes to the owner, any withdrawals, as in owner's drawing account or dividends, comes out of retained earnings. Okay, so this is just going to be a detailed showing of that actually happening. Okay, so we start off with the balance of retained earnings, again on January 1 of that current year. Okay, and that will come, and actually all of this information right here, I got, the book tells us exactly what you're doing with that. Okay, so that's where I got those numbers. We're just laying it out, and I'm telling you those would have come from the ledger. For this retained earnings, the retained earnings haven't changed on our worksheet. Okay, because we didn't touch this account for the entire year, right? It just sits there until we get to the end of the year, and then we roll the net income into it, or we take the dividends out, unless the owners invested more than you. Well, that wouldn't even happen because this is a corporation, so, and that would all happen through stock. So this is the retained earnings right here. Okay, so that's the number that we're using it. We're pulling it from the adjusted trial balance. Okay, so 15, right here. We're going to put in this column so we can keep doing calculations. 15,283.40. Okay, and again, that number came from the adjusted trial balance. Okay, then this is where we're going to roll in the net income. And of course, this is after federal income tax for 2022. Okay, and that can come from our income statement. Okay, so net income after taxes. And then we're going to decrease it by the dividends. So we're going to move that back another level. So 73148.80. Okay, so that came from the income statement. And then dividends less dividends declared during 2022, the current year. And that is coming from the adjusted trial balance as well, right here, $12,000. Okay, so now what we're seeing with this information right here is what the net increase is in retained earnings, or the net increase for the owner. So during 2022, so I'm doing this math, this minus this equals 61,148.80. Okay, so now this was my balance of retained earning. This is my net increase for retained earnings, which is taking into consideration the net income and the dividends that we pulled to share with the owners. So these two added together is going to equal our balance, a new balance of retained earnings, 76432.20. Okay, so this is our new balance on December 31. Okay, and then we can give it a total stockholders equity. Okay, this is what we've got in retained earnings. This is what we've got in ownership. So we're going to add those two to get this number, and that's 158,932.20. Okay, so that gives us some detailed information here for our equity, our owner's equity, and this will help us when we get to the balance sheet because it'll already be done. Okay, dividends, we want to make sure that that's coming from the adjusted trial balance, and the rest of that is math. Okay, all right, so there is 16.2 for the stockholders' equity.